Yair Vardi, welcome to 20 Minute Leaders. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Michael.
So I see that you're in Los Angeles, which is very fitting, but you're not actually in front of Pier 39, right? Right now.
No, I'm not. I'm not in the ocean. Although our offices on unusual times is just 6 blocks um, from the pier in Santa Monica.
Beautiful.
Um, yeah, but I wish I was there right now.
Definitely. So, Fusion LA, a very unique structure for an accelerator that also invests pretty significantly now, pretty recently, right, in the companies that you bring on board. Talk to me about this Tel Aviv Los Angeles love boat that's going on here.
So this Fusion is our startup. It's me and Guy, my co-founder, startup. We we saw an opportunity really and the need um, within the Israeli ecosystem to help early stage founders set up the operation and kind of like scaling into the US. We're not the first one to pioneer an accelerator program. We
Right.
were inspired by many other programs. YCs that started the accelerator whole thesis in 2005. And I saw that you've interviewed here Shuli from
Right.
UpQuest a few episodes ago. So inspired by their work in the Bay Area when they started 8 years ago, I think in 2002.
So the mandatory
Uh,
question, Yair, is why are we in LA? I mean, people talk all the time, Palo Alto, San Francisco. Where does LA fit in here?
So no, maybe it's because of my personal story. That's maybe part of it.
Oh,
I moved here 7 years ago. Um, Came, I think you're in Stanford right now, so I came to UCLA on a fellowship on behalf of the Jewish Agency. Fell in love in the place with the community, and after I worked on campus, I started working for the Consulate General of Israel here in Los Angeles. Um, and I think and the initiatives that led to the consulate were around innovation and academic partnerships. So over the course of overall, it was like 3.5 years in UCLA and the consulate. A lot of things have changed here in the ecosystem in Los Angeles. Like Los Angeles was always known as like the media capital of the world,
right. Yep.
where content, where Hollywood is. Uh, it's also one of the two major metropolises in the US. A big, vibrant Jewish community, the largest, together with New York. I think it's competing with the Israeli hub in the US.
Lots of traffic as
Never,
well.
but never were considered a tech hub. But
Right.
things have changed here in the last, I'd say, 10 years, or maybe just in the last 7 years, in terms of an ecosystem that the name is Silicon Beach.
Yep.
Uh, that's the term name for Southern California ecosystem. Um, and from and you see, and specifically in the seed stage, you saw that every year in the last 7 years was a record year in terms of investment in the southern California. A lot of the major players in LA are the Bay Area funds that Northern Cal VCs that invest heavily in Southern California. A lot of them also used to come here because a lot of their investors are here.
Yep.
Um, but what happened, I think, recently is that you see also a boost in the seed stage, and that's where we operate. You see dozens of new funds that were established of like between 50 to 10 million to $100 million fund, and also there always there there's a big pool of capital in LA. A lot of it was involved in like real estate, in media, but it just became much sexier to invest now in tech.
Yeah.
With the success stories of companies like Snapchat that really turned around Venice Beach to a tech hub, and some of the major players here like Cornerstone on Demand, and also a lot of the media studios have shifted to become more geared to technology. Um, Consumer brands, Dollar Shave Club. So you saw suddenly
Oh.
a lot more unicorns in Southern California, and with that, angel investments, and we really believe that LA could be a great place for Israeli companies to set up their shop.
Right. So your perspective is not just to invest in seed stage startups within the Southern California region, but it's also bringing Israeli founders from Tel Aviv and giving them an opportunity to break into the U.S. market through the lenses of Los Angeles. Is that right?
Yeah, and maybe here it's a good point to also speak about my second half, which is Guy, my co-founder. We both of us served together in 8200 in Israel, know each other for like 15 years, and when I was just like the first few years here in Los Angeles, Guy was running one of the top accelerator programs in Israel called 8200 EISP,
Right.
and that's where we started bringing here tech delegations and bringing here alumni of 8200 and alumni of the accelerator. And when we brought them, we usually took them for like a 2 week roadshow in the Bay Area in Los Angeles. And after running those, and we did that voluntarily through the work in the 8200 Alumni Association and through
Yeah.
my hat at the consulate. And it was great to work with those entrepreneurs. I think in the Bay Area there was this kind of like hub that you know who you should speak with when you come into the ecosystem. And in LA there was a gap. There was an annual conference here. There were a few people, but there was no clear hub for an early stage Israeli founder that want to come and like meet the right people in town to do so. And that's where we thought we should build something new and start working on Fusion. It was about 3 years ago.
So, what are the challenges that Israeli companies might need your assistance with in sort of being a catalyst in breaking into the U.S. market? Because the alternative to getting into the Fusion Accelerator and getting the investment is to go the regular route and raise from angel investors or and then VCs, but they come and they choose to participate in this very intensive experience with you. So why would a founder or a founding team choose to do that?
So maybe I'll tell a little bit about how the program is structured. So because I didn't mention that until now. So we run 2 batches a year, in which we invest. Right now, our ticket is $110,000 to each company,
Mm-hmm.
and then the companies come for like a 9 week intensive program in Los Angeles, but also we have a component in the Bay Area. And after that, and during that time, we also make sure that we rent for them apartments here in Santa Monica. They work from our offices, and we cater one-on-one meetings with over 100, 150 local individuals here that could be or executives that could become clients. It could be other angel investors that could invest in them. It could be VCs that are relevant for their stage, but could be VCs that only will be relevant for round A or round B.
Right.
And now it's time for them to establish relationship with them and kind of like ask them what are the KPIs, what are the parameters they would like to see in order for those companies to be fundable. Um, I think we invest very early. So even within the Israeli ecosystem, not a lot of like pre-seed players. There is in the last decade, there's a lot more angel money in Israel than used to be.
Yeah.
Let's see how what's going to happen after the COVID-19. Uh, but so, but I think what we offer besides the money that gives them a little bit of runway is a network, is a soft landing here. And now that we have over 40 companies that we've invested in, and a lot of them are here in like relocated, like founders that relocated themselves to the US. uh, we have now, I think, 8 companies that are here in LA. We have
Wow.
numerous founders that are looking to relocate, actually relocating this summer to New York.
Huh.
We have companies that are looking to set up their shop in the US. So we look at the program as kind of like a gateway to the US market.
Right.
And we really think that in order to find the product market fit, Israeli entrepreneurs need to hit the market and be here, be present in the US market as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So our criteria is teams that are fully committed to the venture, that already have something to show. We call it. Doesn't have to be a complete MVP, but they could have, if it's a B2B business, they could start speaking with clients here. Maybe they have some clients in Israel, and now it's time to sell to the US clients.
Yeah.
And if it's B2C, they're ready to launch. And we've worked with a few gaming companies, and we think like there's no better place, let's say, for a gaming or an esports company to launch the product besides LA, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you're situated in Los Angeles, and you really have a personal connection to a lot of the to more most of the 40 companies that you've already invested in. And I think now is a pretty interesting time to ask you what are some of your insights after seeing the transition of these 40 companies? What are some of the common things that start bubbling up as new founders come and approach this, weird US market, which is obviously very, very different and much bigger than the Israeli market?
so some every company is a bit unique,
Of
and every
course.
founder is different. uh, but certain things that we like to call in the program like code of practice, that's one of the first sessions we do in every batch. uh, and I think for Israeli founders that didn't grow up here, or didn't had the opportunity to go to an MBA. I think um, it's a different game. Like we in Israel do business in a certain way, and Americans do business in a different way.
Right.
And part of what we're trying to do uh, is Americanize the value prop, but also the code of practice of how do you do business here in the U.S. And the main thing is that um, one thing that every batch we see is that I think people here in Southern California, people California in general, are very relaxed
Yeah.
and laid back. And every meeting they take, they smile to you. It's usually a very good meeting. And Israelis might take that politeness and those like uh, smiley faces and
Yeah.
welcoming faces as like, yes, I want to join your team. I'm writing you a check tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And every batch we have that moment.
Amazing. It's like the saying
and
that if an investor tells you that your idea is interesting, then you better go rethink everything, right?
and I think understanding that, and it's not just with investors, it's also around uh, the sales cycle here in the US, because things are much longer here, and it takes a longer period of time to sell to clients here, but also investors that didn't serve with you in Shmona Matayim in 8200, and didn't go to school with you in Tel Aviv, and not family related to you, will not make quick decisions. There's some unique things, especially angels, that could be in wild cards. But I think people here take longer time to get to know you, especially as a foreigner, um, and really those who have made the relocation. Um, I think benefited the most. Like those who, after the program, made the bigger step of moving to the U.S. and spending most of their time here, really accelerated their growth.
That makes a lot of sense, and I think it's just fascinating to be at the forefront of this integration and to be actually. I think you are the main Israeli presence for tech in LA, right? That really facilitates this interaction and this bringing on, right?
That's what we're aspiring to be, that hub.
Yeah.
Um, and kind of like there were a lot of great entrepreneurs and investors, Israeli expats here. We're trying to bring them together as to one big community,
Yeah.
and hopefully just the beginning because we wanna have more of us here. We want to have more funds here that just invest in Israeli companies because that's what's gonna make the ecosystem much better. Yeah.
No, no, definitely no. I'm a part of J Ventures now in Palo Alto, and before COVID, obviously, the one thing I was really looking forward to every month was to come together with about 80 Israelis in the same room and just eat a lot of hummus and just feel again a part of the community. And it has a big impact being in a place that's a different place in the world, but having that sort of mentality of you're back in your army unit and you're back in the streets of Tel Aviv. It gives you this sense of confidence. Yair, I want to know a little bit about you better. How did you end up here, specifically with Fusion? And you're mentioning that this is sort of your startup with Guy. You could be doing a regular startup and being one of the participants in Fusion. Where does your passion lie right now?
So I always like working with people. I grew up in Madgana was like my all my high school was going to the scouts. I was like I don't know how you say it in English, but I was merakez. I was a counselor. I loved working with people. The end of my military service was running the cadet course for 8200 for one of the so that's something that I'm
Oh
passionate about
wow.
working with people, and while I was here, I came to the U.S. as an emissary, as a shaliach of the Jewish agency, and the entire mission was to educate kind of like the American Jewish community about the Israeli about Israel,
Yeah.
uh, and so education is a big part of what I love, and recently I also joined the board of the American Jewish University. That's why I also like what you're doing in J Ventures, and so I'm passionate about, and of course I work for the Israeli consulate. So I think one thing that I was exploring in the past was also going the route of like the diplomatic corps, and I had a good experience in the ministry here, and I think I saw a big opportunity in the private sector to um, create another bridge of innovation between uh, what's happening here in LA and the city, and my birthplace in Israel, and and it just evolved. It was after running those roadshows together with Guy in working with early stage founders, we felt like we have to try it. We have to build something new, and we really like felt like there's a need here, and yeah, and life and I think we made the right decision. 3 years later, I see myself doing that for the next decade because you
Amazing.
really cannot be, I think, in venture capital or what we're doing. You have to start thinking like 10 years forward, because really the lifetime of your early stage investment is like 7 to
Yeah,
12 years.
definitely.
I see, like, I'm excited about the opportunity of like looking at the early stage investment we're doing right now and what's going to happen in 2000, in 2028. That's going to be exciting.
No, that's wonderful, and every time I get one of the update emails from you and Guy, I get so excited, and it keeps growing, and every time I'm surprised again by how amazing it looks and this progress. So really, really, and I came and I visited some of your companies and I visited your offices back a few
Cool.
months ago, and I was just taken at how much energy there was and how awesome these groups are. Yair, right before we finish, I have to ask you three words that best describe you. I prepared you for this one.
No,
Usually I
you
don't
prepared
prepare.
me
This
for
was a
this
gift.
one just before we started the interview, and I was I didn't have time to think through. I told you that my wife, I should have asked her, but she's not here right now. Three words that describe me. Um,
Or three words, or somehow in some way that your portfolio companies would describe you after working with you. through fusion?
No, it's always it's a tough thing.
It's the hardest
Uh,
question. That's why it's the last one.
like a people person was the first thing. I think it's let me think. It's like people, relationships. Those are the two first things that come in mind. Um,
It sounds like it has to be when you're running this accelerator.
no, no. What those are like the key things that also I'm trying to like uh, to have founders think about the way they uh, interact with other people and
Wonderful.
the way they run relationships with other people. I think that's a core theme of what we're doing in the program. Um, so peoples and relationships and maybe humor. I'll put it this way.
I
That's it.
love it. I love it. Yair, this was so great. Thank you very, very much.
Well, thank you. This is great.
Great.
I
Take
love it.
care.
I love it.
Thank you. Stay safe.